What's going on, people? Thank you all so much for tuning into this live stream segment of Mikasa, Sukasa, and the Convo Couch. Today we have a very special guest. A lot of you may know him from the Jimmy Dore Show and the Aggressive Progressives, and Get Your News On with Ron on his YouTube channel. Today we have with us Ron Placone. What's going on, Ron? Thanks for showing up.
What's up? Yeah, good to see everybody. Hope everyone is having a happy Tuesday.
Yeah, it's been a hell of a weekend.
It has.
As you all know, we had Tulsi here. They had Tulsi over at the Jimmy Dore studio as well, and I'm sure Ron has been, in the thick of all of it, watching all of it, and alongside Tulsi doing her thing. You had a bunch of negative stuff come out about some other candidates, and a lot of debates really about basically all of the other candidates, about their viability, where they're at in the polls, if that's even believable. You have candidates getting closer and closer to the debate stage. So we wanted to talk about all of that with us today. And so the first question I want to ask to Ron is, who is your 2020 pick? Oh,
I mean, my answer is pretty obvious. I mean, my top two are Tulsi and Bernie, and I'm kind of still hoping they pair up. If I had the perfect scenario, I think that Tulsi president, Bernie vice president is
breaking news.
Well, I've said this a bunch of times, so it's not. But realistically, I think it's going to be Bernie president, Tulsi vice president, which I'm totally fine with that too. I would support it 100% either way. So I just think those two candidates are just.
I got breaking news for you.
By and far the best.
I got breaking news for you. Tulsi is now my #1 over Bernie.
There you go. There's breaking news.
You know why? She's better on regime change. She's better on foreign policy. She's better on election integrity. Now, Bernie has the resume. He has the experience. And I still think right now that Bernie has the best chance to beat Donald Trump. But from what I've seen over the weekend with the rally at the church, or for town hall, whatever you want to call it, was a lot of momentum. And I understand that tweets or Twitters or posts on Twits doesn't necessarily equate to votes, but it does equate to momentum. It does equate to energy. And I am really all excited to be part of Team Tulsi, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I still love Bernie, but Tulsi's my #1 now.
Have you seen Beto O'Rourke jump on a table?
Or if I see that live,
if we're talking about momentum, now that has what the Democrats refer to as potential for momentum, coined by Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So when you see that,
I remember that quote. That was the best quote ever.
Don't write off the stand on something, stand for nothing 2020. That's, the pulse is still alive there.
Oh, man. I wish we would have had that soundbite. We have the potential for momentum. I remember when she said that shit. That was like, this lady just said we got the potential for momentum.
Oh, well, that means that Tulsi's doing just fine then, if that's the case, right? Potential for momentum is there. It's been there for...
You know what's interesting, too, about this weekend? And I agree. Tulsi definitely got that campaign got a nice shot in the arm in California this past weekend, which I was thrilled to see. We all were.
Her San Francisco rally was big, too.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was
That's
big
awesome.
Well.
And I think what's interesting here, correct me if I'm wrong, because of the way the primaries moved up, we're going to be March... Right,
or February.
So
March
this is
1st or something like that.
Yeah,
second.
so this is
mid-March, I think.
So pretty much exactly, like more or less a year from now, we will be in the same seat.
Yes,
here,
we will.
Which is kind of cool.
Closer than that because she's coming back.
Oh, she'll be back before then. But I'm saying like March is going to be the big go time here in California.
When is Kamala coming back?
Well, she
lives
lives here.
I know.
She lives here
on Sunday.
You wouldn't know it. I haven't seen her a lot of rallies around here.
You wouldn't know that she just held a private event, with her bundlers on Sunday.
She's for Medicare for all. Too bad she didn't know that there was an effort for that right here in her home state of California.
I know, it's really
She didn't
weird
know that. Actually, she's already
up.
backpedaled, by the way, on Medicare for all. We all know this. But too bad when she said she was for it, she didn't know there was an effort here right in her home state. She must not have known about it.
If you
Nobody told her.
The evidence to know that Kamala Harris is a fugazi. She lives in a state where we have a supermajority, and still Medicare for all is part of their platform, and she's done nothing to push it forward. Her, Gavin Newsom, the whole lot of them, Pelosi, they're all here, and we have a shit program when it comes to our medical system, and we have more and more homeless getting on the streets every day.
Well, Posse, you just don't understand her stance, okay? She's for Medicare for all, but she's also for Medicare for some.
Yeah.
And she's for the current Medicare for all bill, the what's the one they call it, this Conyers bill. But she's also for some other people's bills. She's not ruling anything out, Posse. I think you're being a little rude, okay, by asserting that she should just, pick a Medicare for all and stick to it. I think that you're just ignorant on the issues, okay?
Guys, it's very
learning. I'm here to be educated about it.
It's very, very complicated, all right? We want this single-payer universal system that's never been tried in any other country in the world. No one's ever tried that before. Hasn't been done in Canada or Finland or Norway or Denmark or the UK or France or Italy or never been done before. No one's ever done it. So we have no idea how it could possibly work. Right? There's no model for us to look at.
If there were like countries who had smaller economies than we do that implemented it successfully, then we could start talking about this. But clearly it's not feasible.
That's another problem.
These candies, really.
We're not a rich country.
For it? How are we going to pay for it, guys?
Well, we're not spending all of our money on war, Craig. Well, so it's clearly available.
Well, listen, that money goes to support the troops. I don't know what you're talking about now.
I mean, I guess
700. What is it? 700 billion or something like that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just saw a private driving a Rolls Royce on the way over.
Those are just Patriot pennies, you guys. And
why don't you guys educate me on this guy Andrew Yang right now? Because y'all been talking about Yang.
Patriot pennies. When did you come up with that?
You like that? I just thought of that.
That's dope. Patriot. 700 billion Patriot pennies.
Patriot pennies. Yeah. All right.
That's dope. I like that.
I'm registering that.
Well, let me just say this, guys, on the chat going, howdy, how y'all?
Howdy, y'all.
There's a lot of Tulsi love right now out there. So why don't you explain to us about Andrew Yang? I mean, you read up on this guy because I haven't heard much about him.
It's so funny. I tweeted a couple things about Andrew Yang that I was not. I'm not a fan of Andrew Yang. I was never a big fan. After he did the interview on the Jimmy Dore show, I became less of a fan. And I guess people saw those tweets, or I guess I wasn't subtle. I wasn't really trying to be subtle, but I guess I really wasn't.
Know how to be subtle?
No, I don't think so. But because at the past Jimmy Dore live show in Ventura this past Sunday, a group of people came up to me after, and one of the guys goes to the other guy. He goes, "Hey man, tell him about Andrew Yang," and the guy goes, I kind of like Andrew Yang. They wanted me to tell you. so I guess it was obvious that I was vocal that I'm not a big fan of Andrew Yang. And I'm not. And the reason I'm not is because, first of all, he's against the minimum wage. Like, he's straight up against it. You know, we can't tie it up and put a bow on it.
Yeah, despite the fact.
And here's the other thing. The whole UBI thing. Look, Andrew Yang comes from a lot of money. He's made a lot of money.
What's that tidbit about his father that you were telling me about earlier?
His dad had something like 69 patents. Or something like that.
Rich. So it's basically like the Trump effect again, where people think because I'm a successful businessman, and it's like, but you were rich before you were successful. Probably had a lot to do with you being a successful businessman. Not necessarily that you started from nothing, and so you know how to make money, and now you're telling everybody else how to make the money. It's just like, nah.
No, you came from privilege. I mean, you came from wealth, and so. The other thing about him, the whole UBI thing, I'm not completely against the concept of a UBI, but I think that it needs to be coupled with extensive rent control. It needs to be coupled with other protections for it to be at all effective. And he has no plan for that. For him, it's just more like, hey plebs, I'm going to give you some money. Like me. He's good on some issues. He's good on Medicare for all. I'll give him that. He's good on that. But he's against free college. There's a lot of things. He's basically more of
which is also weird because he thinks that like automation is going to kill everybody, and so but to be against you're against free college, but you're saying that automation is going to kill jobs. But so don't you need to be in college to be even more competitive than? Because it's already competitive because everybody needs a college degree right now. So automation is going to kill half the job, according to him.
Yeah, if you want
you need more people in college?
If you want people to be innovators, like, wouldn't they benefit from college? Yeah. Totally. And then the other thing, too, is like, and I understand automation is part of the conversation. I get that, totally. And he can probably talk about automation better than I can. I'm sure he can. But when we are living in a country with a failing infrastructure, where we have 12 years to do something significant about climate change, and there is a huge demand for it, when we need to get off of fossil fuels, you want to tell me there's not opportunities for a job program in this country? I don't buy it. Yeah. There is. We can have everybody in this country at work for a living wage.
We were just talking about that. And that's what I'm saying. I don't think that UBI is inherently bad or even inherently good. I do have a problem with the way it's being presented by Andrew Yang, as if it's like this major problem-solving solution. I just want you to think about something. Andrew Yang, it seems to be, he's a tech bro, right?
He's a tech bro, and that's the other big problem I have with him. So he has, and I don't want to cut you off, but I wanted to just finish this one thing on like why I don't like him. He has a big soft spot for big tech. Like he's fine with Jeff Bezos, he's fine with Amazon, he's fine with Google, he's fine with Facebook.
He said Bezos isn't the problem.
Yeah. So he has a big soft spot for big tech. He doesn't want to break them up. He thinks that those plutocrat billionaires are fine. Why is his soft spot for big tech? His soft spot is for big tech because that's his circle. Yeah, he's sympathetic to his circle. So if you take that guy out of that circle and you put him in the White House, where his circle becomes the military-industrial complex, where his circle becomes the donor class, who do you think he's going to cater to? Andrew Yang is a phony. He's not a progressive at all. He's just another plutocrat. Don't fall for Andrew Yang. He's not the worst candidate out of the Democratic establishment. There are worse. Cory Booker's even worse.
You just don't like him being lobbed in with Bernie and Tulsi.
Not at all. No, not at all.
He's not the yin to my yang.
I would go Elizabeth Warren before I go Andrew Yang.
Double back.
I'd go Elizabeth Warren.
That's what I was about to ask. Wow.
Yeah.
Breaking.
I think Yang is worse than Elizabeth Warren.
Wow. You would take Elizabeth Warren over Andrew Yang.
I would.
I'm undecided when it comes to Elizabeth Warren between Andrew Yang. I just basically, it's not that I like either one more than the other one. It's more so I don't get.
I don't like either one. Yeah. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's why I'm undecided. It's not really that I like. It's the thing about Yang that bothers me is one, when he went on Joe Rogan's interview, he said that he would be okay with any of the candidates being his running mate. Like any of the Democratic Party candidates being his running mate. That kind of was like, okay, so he's either politically naive or he knows what they're about and he doesn't care. And if that's the case,
I think it's both. You don't have to pick one of those.
I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be the devil's advocate here. I'm trying to be devil's advocate.
Not for Andrew.
Because I've already endorsed my candidate. You know, y'all know who I'm going for. It's Tulsi all the way. But I'm just trying to play the devil's advocate because you've already shredded him so bad. I think the facts speak for themselves. But in all seriousness, what you said is true. If you're going to keep your circle, like if you're a tech bro, like and if you're going to be in the White House. So one of the things about Trump is that he brought his people to the White House. He brought a circle into the White House. So if he's a tech bro, who do you think he's going to bring into the White House? The people that think like he does. Mm-hmm. So where we used to have the banks ripping us off and the real estate industry ripping us off because of the people and the oil industry ripping us off because of people like Bushes and the Trumps and the Bezos and all these, not Bezos, excuse me, the Betsy DeVos of the world. When he comes in, who do you think is going to be the cause of a lot of these economic crashes in the future? Because the tech industry is that big that it can cause an economic crash unlike we've ever seen. Because what you're talking about? How much is Facebook stocks now? Something ridiculously high. Same thing with Amazon. Same thing with a lot of these startup companies. Like it just becomes a startup industry, and that will actually speed the price of automation. And this man, for him being from California, right? He lives in California, if I recall. That's where he's from.
Yang?
Yeah. Where's he from?
I think he's in New York.
That's even worse. So that's actually even worse. My point is $1,000 a month in New York. You are detached from reality if you think that's going to change someone's life in New York. That might make it marginally easier, but it also increases the incentive, which is why Ron brought this up. It increases the incentive for rent to not be controlled and for people to speak out, or for landlords to jack the prices up. Because
totally, because they know everybody has $1,000 a month.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. So
$1,000 a month is nothing in New York. It is literally, you are spending more money. What are you gonna do? Buy a car? So now I bought a car in New York. That's cool. So I have maybe one car, higher insurance, and I have to park my car in the garage. I'm over $1,000 just like that. I'm starting to lose money. Now I have to drive my car.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. And again, UBI, it has its place in the discussion, but UBI with just nothing else attached, with no policy attached, just be like, hey, here's some money. It's going to be useless. It worked with
I think it worked in Norway. They tested it out for like a year, and it worked really well. But it's because Norway already has a lot of these provisions in place.
They already have protections in place, and they already have a social safety net in place. We have none of those things.
Exactly.
None of those things.
So
looking at that case study is pretty much useless when you're applying it to the United States.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So it's skipping the line. Like it's the same thing we talk about all this. That's why one of the reasons I think we all love Tulsi is we can talk about anti-war. We can talk about Medicare for all, but all this other than anti-war, which that's kind of a more nuanced discussion, Medicare for all, things like the DeVos, what's his name again? Bezos Act, like basically anything that we want Bernie for, right? All the domestic stuff. That shit's relevant because if we don't get this election justice legislation passed that Tulsi introduced, then he's not getting any of that stuff. It doesn't matter how many executive order power he has because the Democrats and Republicans are going to team up to make sure that this legislation isn't pushed through in the way that we need it to be pushed through. Like making sure that it's efficacious progressively rather than getting another ACA, another Affordable Care Act situation. So I think that's also something that should be observed when we're talking about who we want to push and who is better on foreign policy or domestic policy. I don't like when people say, oh, Bernie is clearly better or Yang is clearly better on foreign policy. Like, and you can call me biased, but the reason I endorsed Tulsi was because how long have we been talking about election justice, Ron?
A long time.
Yeah. How many of our progressive allies before Tulsi has made this the nonpartisan issue that it is?
Well, at least a handful.
Yeah,
and I know you got to experience CONVO firsthand.
Yeah,
that was.
But I'm saying
that's your backyard.
In power right now, who have actually a chance to influence election justice, other than Tulsi, who spoke of it in a nonpartisan way. It's been nobody.
Listen, it's the most important issue. If we don't have election integrity, we don't have anything. You know, it's got to start right there. There needs to be a paper trail,
and there needs to be someone pushing and championing election integrity, and so that the people don't feel like they're fighting alone in a battle that's bigger than they are. Because if Tulsi, we said, well, this Fee was sitting beside her on election justice, she was like, ooh, good, I want to talk about this. Like no other candidate does it. They avoid it.
That is cool. That is very cool. I'm thrilled to hear she did that. Yeah. Here's the thing, and I'm like, I agree with everything you just said. The way I see it, though, is, Tulsi is not perfect. Bernie is not perfect. When you look at the two of them, they really complement each other so well. Do. Because I feel like where one has some weaknesses, the other has particular strengths, and vice versa. Yep. Bernie's really good at what's the phrase that Obama said, putting the shoe on and marching or whatever. I mean, Bernie's been really successful with that, what he's done for Disney, what he's done for the Amazon employees. And Tulsi's strong in that too, but Bernie's really stood out for that. Whereas Tulsi isn't afraid to really go after election integrity. Tulsi's not afraid to, really be strong on the foreign policy. So I feel like the two of them together, it's just... I think as progressives, that is the strongest ticket we can hope for.
And I think they agree. I think that's why they met.
I think they know. I think they know,
because they do both have their weaknesses. Tulsi's her biggest strength is also her most, I feel like her most, at least the weakness that most people are aware of, which is she's evolved a lot. It's genuine evolution.
So how's that a weakness?
It's a weakness because for them, Bernie's been this way forever. Bernie's never gotten it wrong in their minds. That's not true either. But that's how people perceive it, right? And that's how we have to deal with reality, unfortunately, is how people perceive it. And so, where I think that's a strength, others may think it's a weakness. Now, neoliberals will say it's a weakness because it's Tulsi regardless. Funny enough, right? Because Hillary evolved.
If Tulsi says the sky is blue, neoliberals will have a problem.
They're going to be like, oh, she's racist. The sky isn't blue; it's more like Carolina blue, and we shouldn't really be lobbing all blues into the same blue category. So, it is true. But once again, for the people who are curious as to where your vote should lie, there's only two candidates getting rabidly attacked by the establishment. There's only two.
Yeah, and
it isn't Yang. And I mean, it's a fact. I mean, we can say what we want to. You can like Yang or dislike him, but if we're talking about who should be the number one and number two hits, Elizabeth Warren is getting attacked more than Yang is by the mainstream, even though Yang individually is doing better than Warren is right now. And Warren is getting attacked. And I don't even like Warren. Y'all know this. But these are the facts. Yang isn't getting attacked like Bernie. He isn't getting attacked like Tulsi. So whose side is he really on? But you know who has been getting attacked recently? Joe Biden. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, man, Joe.
So we're going to bring this up. And Fee was not able to make it because I didn't tell her quick enough that we were doing the show, and that's my fault. So I'm going to let her. She called this. Okay, Fiorella called this. We went out to dinner 2 nights ago now, and Fee said, the reason I'm so livid about this Joe Biden situation isn't because of all the nonsense that everyone else is trying to bring into discussion, all the nuanced debate, because we know we're going to hear basically everybody defending whoever they think should be defended based off of their team. And it's an unfortunate truth, but it's a truth nonetheless. Fee was worried about, I know what this is going to mean for Bernie Sanders and how this is going to be warped and brought back to Bernie Sanders, because the truth of the matter is we understand the climate we're living in. And the last time this person was involved, it was also somebody else hurt tangentially because of her being tacitly attached to our movement once again. So today, Business Insider released an article that said Joe Biden's team is reportedly blaming Bernie Sanders' camp for the trickle of stories from women about inappropriate behavior. So now it is no longer an alt-right story. It's back to being a Bernie story, a Bernie supporter. It's crazy how they switches back and forth like that. It's like they got a switchboard. Yeah. So the first couple of paragraphs is saying, former Vice President Joe Biden's inner circle is reportedly stewing over the surge of accusations that the prospective 2020 presidential candidate inappropriately touched multiple women, and think that the Vermont Sanders team, or Senator Bernie Sanders' team, could be behind the renewed focus. Axios reported on Tuesday that several individuals close to Biden's team are suspicious that Sanders' camp is at least partly to blame by the anti-Biden campaign. I mean, yeah, partly, probably, right? I would say that we're at least partly behind it because we are anti-Biden and we would like to see an anti-Biden campaign.
Can I ask a question?
So wait, you're helping fuel an anti-Biden campaign by talking about information that is available in the blogosphere and sharing it? I guess that's really grasping for straws on their end.
I mean, Bernie, how dare you? How dare you? You get your supporters to, tell the truth about other people.
The thing I can't understand about this whole thing is, and I kind of put a post up about this the other day, is that people are saying now, a lot of establishments, neoliberals, whatever you want to call them, I try not to slander them as much as I can. They say, well, this Lucy Flores incident now disqualifies Joe Biden from becoming president. And I was like, whoa, what about the warmongering and pushing of NATO and him not allowing the witness to corroborate Anita Hill's story? Pretty much, defended.
See, I don't disagree with you.
I don't understand it. He should have been disqualified a long time ago.
I understand that, and I agree with you, but I'm okay if this is the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
That's the optimist approach.
Yeah, I'm not, in the camp of like, this is the incident that should have got him pushed out, right? I feel like he should deal with this in whatever public I don't know how they would go about dealing with it, because I guess technically he isn't part of anything officially anymore.
Yeah, he isn't even part of anything officially.
I feel like this should disqualify him in the minds of people. But I also feel like he should have been disqualified in the minds of people before. Yeah. And I guess what Craig's point is, it's like, why is it that you all care about this? And when it's convenient, is it because it serves some type of narrative, or serves somebody else? And let's be honest, it does serve somebody else. It serves the establishment women's team, and there is a team of establishment women who think Joe Biden should move on over and let Kamala take the camp. And then you have the team of young versus old. So the millennials looking for a job, we're not going to get one on Joe Biden's team.
No, he's going to tell you to suck it up, and he has no sympathy.
Exactly. However,
that's a good way
that
to
was
start.
The other thing.
Alienate the country's largest voting bloc right away.
Give me a break. Get the young. That's a bunch of malarkey.
Yeah. So
come over here. Let me play with your hair.
Yeah, let me smell
and
your
stop
nose.
Complaining.
Beto and Kamala will hire millennials because that's their whole thing. That's their base, and that's who they need around them to make them look younger and hipper than they actually are. So you have multiple camps, and I actually did a video about this the other day, laughing because there was somebody trying to make the argument against Beto getting so much attention by saying Kamala should have been getting more. That was their argument. He's just getting so much. How come he gets to be on Vanity Fair? There are people who are in Congress.
Oh, did you see his denim?
Yeah.
I'll tell you how he got to be on Vanity Fair.
But seriously,
that's a hell of a hair part and killer denim.
The moment that
he was born for this. Sorry.
That clearly. That's what he said. Look at that smile. That smile is like...
Yeah, Bernie Sanders says, not me, us. Beto O'Rourke says, I was born for this. Tells you everything you need to know.
You want to watch
everything you need to know.
That's a leader.
Yeah, he streams his...
Not me.
Come on in. You can
Clearly, Bernie is just lazy and trying to deflect the role of the presidency onto the people like a dirty fucking socialist. That's what... What a surprise, right? The lazy, crazy Bernie... Us, not you, just you, not me. Oh God!
No, when Beto O'Rourke did that whole live stream of his dental appointment, I just saw that and I was like, "This is one of the most narcissistic things I've ever seen in my life."
More than what I thought.
And I am in fucking show business, and I'm like,
you live in
"Holy shit!" And I live in Los Angeles.
I feel
no, my friend. And I got to say though that when Kamala did did announce. She got a lot of attention from this group over here. Some of our shows. So.
Yeah, you know, it's just people. But I said that they were going to tear each other apart because, and this is also the argument I made for both Bernie and Tulsi, where people are like, well, why are things different now? I'm like, oh, because there is no guarantee winner. There's nobody that can guarantee you fundraising like Hillary could, because she'd been building up fundraising for, I don't know, 25, 30 years while she's been in the public eye. These people were picked last minute because they thought Hillary Clinton was still going to be president right now, and they had time to figure everything out. It's not the same anymore. They thrusted a bunch of people into the front. They thought that they were probably better than what they were because they didn't actually see if they were electable. They just said, will you play ball? And they all announced so early that everyone, and they've been all gassed up by the individual sects of the establishment, they all feel like they have a legitimate chance of winning. And so now, well, I think that they do have, this person does have a legitimate chance of winning. I think this person does. And there are people now on Bernie's team who are like, I mean, shit, I'm part of the establishment, but I want a job. I want to try to get on this. I want to be part of this wave. I don't want to be on the wrong side. I want to John Lewis this thing, you know? John Lewis isn't really an activist. I hate when people say that. There are a lot of people, just like in the progressive movement, people who are in the civil rights movement just to be in front of the camera. That was John Lewis. And so there are a lot of people who are going to try to take that route to be on the right side of history. It's pragmatic, right? But we're going to see so much. We're talking about leftist division or progressive division. You're about to see division of amongst the establishment that we haven't seen because there's always been an anointed one. However, they're trying to fight to figure out who the anointed one is right now.
Well, they're trying to fight to figure out how many no idea candidates can we throw and one will stick.
Yeah.
And I feel like slowly the answer is becoming none. Like people want actual ideas. They want candidates that actually stand for something.
Well, let me ask you that question because I was about to ask you guys. I felt like they were just fishing. Like they were literally putting worms on hooks. Kamala, throw her out there, see if we can catch something.
Yeah.
Let's, you know what I'm saying? Well, who?
Hold that thought. We got a super chat.
I was gonna mention it.
Yeah. Be sure to encourage your friends and family to donate. If you have not, let's get Tulsi Gabbard on the debate stage. These are facts, people. She is
that's DC, $5.
Less than 8,000. Less than 8,000 donations away, and that's probably even lower now. She made up so much ground.
She made up a lot of ground this weekend. Well, after this weekend, this wrap up right now, which hooks or should they be reeling back in? Who has no chance?
Kamala, in my opinion, is done.
What about Cory Booker? I don't even think that he even got a nibble on that.
He's running for VP. Everybody has kind of concluded this.
I think that's probably accurate.
It's funny because I actually like him better than Kamala, which is kind of sad. I feel like
Klobuchar?
Oh, should she be reeled back? They won't
reel back in.
She won't be reeled back in. I think that has saved face enough because she didn't come out too aggressively like Kamala did. Kamala came out and announced her damn presidency on Martin Luther King Day. Once again, the biggest mistake any black candidate could have made. A white person told her to do that. No black consultant with any common sense or any connection to the black community is like, hey, you know what would be the most patriotic pro-black thing you could do? Take Martin Luther King's Day and make it about yourself. Yeah, that's the way to win black people over.
And why, when she made her announcement video, did they limit her to only using a Casio keyboard from 1995?
Oh my God.
Did you guys hear that freaking thing? It was like da 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 da, and then just a word salad, like unity, power.
Do you
watch Bob's Burgers?
Huh?
Do you watch Bob's Burgers?
I haven't in a long time.
But you know Gene.
I know what it is.
But Gene, it's like listening to Gene make a song on the keyboard on Bob's Burgers. Like the most simple,
it was ridiculous.
It was like 2 keys, and he put a little percussion in there, and that was the damn commercial. And I was like,
it was a good ass commercial.
It looked like a fake commercial from the 1990s.
Right. It did. It was terrible. I've seen it looked like something you would expect from like a mayor contest in your hometown, like on public access television at like 2 a.m. It's just like, I'm running for city council. Dum 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 dum. And then they're just like volunteering somewhere, going unity, strength.
I felt
good things, not bad things.
I felt they used the same tactic with the State of the Union as they did for picking their candidates.
Actually,
let's just kind of try it out. Let's get Kennedy up there. He's got the name. He's got the recognition. Let's see. Oh no,
what's that all over his face? Yeah. Hold on, cut. He's got shit on his face.
Let's do Stacey Abrams because she usually says Obama 3 times in every single sentence. So
Joe Kennedy's drooling. He's drooling. He must have seen his check from Big Pharma.
I thought I was the only other one who noticed that Stacey Abrams always mentions Obama.
Dude, in her primary, she was ridiculous.
Guys, Stacey Abrams did a wonderful job if she was telling a story at the Moth. Yes. She did. Yeah. She told a very nice story.
Yeah,
it wasn't a rebuttal.
Yeah,
that's definitionally not what a rebuttal is.
Yeah, because you know what? So the thing about the rebuttal, And this is why Bernie's was better and would have. They should always have Bernie give the. You know what I'm saying? Like when Bernie speaks and he's actually giving a rebuttal, it is indeed a rebuttal.
It's
Why?
a rebuttal.
Because Bernie once again has been speaking about these issues forever.
Yep.
He knows the numbers. The numbers are already available. He's researched. He didn't write this speech like before Trump spoke. He listens and then he is like, that's bullshit. And he lists his points and all the facts and literally rebuts Donald Trump with the facts.
We got a super chat coming in. Breaking news. Recent update. Tulsi now needs 5,531 donations. Please make a donation if you haven't. And that's from Scripts to Clips. My man.
Also,
series and flicks.
Hey,
Justice.
Also in other news, in related news, excuse me, Nico House is ahead of everybody in the Tulsi lunch contest. So
Tulsi lunch?
Yeah, we're gonna have lunch with Tulsi. So I'm just letting everybody know it's kind of awkward.
I gotta be honest.
I'm not that
wait,
far ahead.
You started a contest and you're winning
She
it?
started the contest.
Yeah. Oh, she
and I'm
started
winning
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I'm only
Well,
winning
where
by
can people
500.
find this information, Nico?
You can go to the. Actually, do they have it in the? No, I don't think it's in this description because I don't think he put it in.
All right, so here's
But
a competition you might not have heard of that Nico's winning, and we don't know how to help you.
Nah, he. Oh, it's not even close though. Like low key, everybody's mad at me because they're like, "Oh man, Nico, you have such a huge following. Why would you be able to do this? It's an open competition." Just, hey, man, I worked hard for my following. You better get it. What's the point of having 31,000 YouTube subscribers think about it like this. How many questions do you think Tulsi's going to answer if you go have lunch with her? If you all give me your questions, I can sit there with her all day and I can get answers for everything.
Where would the lunch take place? Like, what are the details of this competition?
Don't worry about that, Ron. It's between me and Tulsi. Don't be trying to
Ron, you
don't be
haven't
trying to
even
pop
thanked
up
me
on
for
my
your
day.
question on for Tulsi. I had 5 questions for the speed round, and one of them was a question for you. First of all, the question that really disappointed me, and I kind of had to think hard. I was considering withdrawing my support for Tulsi was Tupac over Biggie. That was the first disappointing thing. But then to say,
wait, what did she say?
Said Tupac.
Oh, she got it right.
Okay, so I want
Ron, you're sitting
no,
on
she
my
didn't.
couch.
Ron, what?
Sorry, dude.
She did not get it right. Everybody
I like them.
Biggie's better than Tupac.
I like them both, but I prefer Tupac.
Nobody even listens to
Tupac
Tupac until
was-
you
you
went to
don't know
death
Biggie.
row.
Tupac was more socially conscious. He
No,
was.
he
He
was
had
fake
so much
socially
more to
con-
give.
He's like
dude.
Kendrick Lamar. We're not
Please.
gonna go there.
But also, let's not forget about the last question, which I asked. I didn't even mention your name. And I said, be careful before you answer this question, Tulsi, because you're going to go over and see Jimmy Dore and Ron Placone.
Hold
Does
on, we have
pineapple
another-
belong on a pizza? And she
What did she
said
say?
yes.
Hey, hold on.
All right, so she got that one wrong.
No,
No,
she-
no
oh
one's
my
Two
God.
big ones to get wrong.
No one's
Balthazar's got a super chat. You want to get on it?
So hold up. So we got Balthazar 228. Thanks for the super chat. He said, "I'm more than ready to support a third party ticket. I don't see a path for a progressive to be far left enough to win the general, but centrist enough to please Perez in the HRC." Now, so I talked about that earlier. One, unfortunately, Tim Canova's election proved, and Jill Stein's election proved that third parties, until they start getting control of some infrastructure, they can't win in a federal election. It's just not feasible. They don't have control of the infrastructure. In Democratic rural districts, Democrats control the infrastructure. In Republican rural districts, the same thing. So if you want to start seeing third parties have a viable chance of winning a general election, regardless if it's Congress, Senate, or for the White House, you have to start organizing there and getting initiatives passed there, ranked choice voting passed in your state and your municipality. But I will say this, I addressed the part about not getting enough momentum within the Democratic Party earlier by letting people know that there is a split within the Democratic Party right now. They don't know who they want to take on the show. We do know, however, that they have enough candidates to take enough delegates away that Bernie nor Tulsi gets 50%. And therefore, that's why it's so important to get Tulsi on that debate stage so she can start siphoning off people from other candidates. Because I do think that the most vulnerable candidates right now are the women. Actually, I would say the women are the most vulnerable because the men are flocking to Tulsi. Now, I can't imagine why that may be. It's probably her anti-war stance. The men love the anti-war stance for Tulsi and the election justice stances for Tulsi. It has nothing to do with her looks. I can't even really say that in all seriousness, because it's not like she's attractive or anything like that. Men don't vote for people just because they're attractive.
No.
They don't go see movies because of the women in the movies. That's never been.
I never do.
That's why
I'm always about the plot.
Yeah.
And the stories and stuff like that. But we haven't discussed this. Is there a potential right now with this primary coming up where Tulsi and Bernie split the progressive vote, not getting him over the 50% threshold? Or is this a positive thing where we go forward, where we do get this ticket of Bernie and Tulsi, we do break through, and we change the Democratic Party for good?
Well, I'm hoping for the latter because I feel like the establishment is going to do everything they can to cheat the progressives, whether it be Bernie or Tulsi or both. They're already going after both. So, I mean, if it's not such a huge response that it is, you know, too loud for them to stamp out, too big for them to cheat, or they'll try to cheat anyway and they'll fail.
That's the good thing about Bernie's
that's the only way we're getting out of the primary.
Yeah,
that's the only way. No one's getting out of the primary otherwise. It goes to a second ballot where the super delegates slither in.
We're
done.
It needs to be.
Does Bernie run third party?
Do you know how it went? No, hell no.
Never.
No.
Not even
with
Jane Sanders made a statement. If the Democratic Party does not change, there will be a third party.
That
was over 6
months ago. I think that
ago.
she would help with that as well. I don't think that she's saying that Bernie would run as a third party candidate. I think she's saying because if he does that, oh my gosh, I hate to say this, but I think an element of like he would get buried is what like they would make sure he gets buried in history. I don't know if it's possible.
Well, he's not going to do it. I mean, he's not going to do it.
Exactly for that fear. And this is not something that this is something he told. Who did he tell that to? That he didn't want to become Ralph Nader. He actually told that to somebody.
He said it publicly. I believe he said that publicly. I don't recall where off the top of my head, but I mean, plus they make all the candidates take that, you know, big Democratic Party pledge where you have to like go in a room and they prick your finger and
and he's also not disloyal.
You hold a piece of paper with fire.
They burn it.
With this hand, I stay united to the Democratic
and
Party.
then you swear upon the patron saints of fossil fuel or whatever. I think that's how it works.
I you know, like, don't get me wrong, people. I would love for him to run through a party, but let's be honest. Like fraction magic is real. Yeah. It would, you know how here's when I would be confident with Bernie running a third party. If we would have got that election justice legislation passed by Tulsi the first time she introduced it, then running as a third party candidate and as a team ticket between Bernie and Tulsi would have been feasible.
Or in 2017 when a bunch of us showed up to D.C. and pleaded with Bernie to start a new party if he would have said yes. He said no.
Because then we could have
started.
But then we could have
we'd be having a much different conversation politically. You know, and again, I realize it's not going to happen, and it's not, or at least not anytime soon. It's certainly not happening before 2020.
It might happen.
That might be what happens.
That might be the end of the shit road. Let me read some super chats. We're going to get 4 of them real quick. Okay. I'll peel through them. Michael, this to Christopher Fano. I can't say it right, but he asked, "Did you guys hear about Bernie?" Is being blamed against the allegations against Joe Biden. Yes, we talked about that earlier. Fiorella called it. That's hashtag creepy Uncle Joe. DC up there again. And this is kind of interesting. Look up the Libertarian Social Caucus of the Libertarian Party on Facebook and Twitter. They are a leftist movement within the Libertarian Party. And we kind of talked about this with Ron Paul saying, okay, there needs to be some
real libertarian.
Yes, the real libertarians. Yeah. We have to start looking into this whole Russian collusion from the other side of the spectrum, and some people have to pay the price. And then over here we have Cool Blue 71. In 1992, Ross Perot received nearly 19% of the U.S. popular vote. He won 0 electoral votes. A third-party presidential nominee will need about 25% nationally to carry any states whatsoever. And that was from Cool Blue 71.
I mean, it's definitely a problem that really needs to be addressed. But in the short terem, we're not, you know, we don't have anything in the short term.
And that's what I tell people who get pissed at Bernie. Like, I understand if you want to be, I would rather, we would all rather. Things that we would rather happen sometimes aren't what's best for the time being. But if you weren't out pushing ranked choice voting, if you weren't out introducing ballot initiatives, if you weren't out making sure that Green Party or whatever party that you think should be on the ballot is on the ballot in your state, you don't get to be mad.
Yeah.
I'm just sorry. Like if Ron is an activist. He's a host too, but this is like activism.
I'll take your word for it. I don't know. I don't know if I deserve that badge or not. You're
an activist. He was literally just talking about when I was in
municipal broadband.
Municipal broadband.
Trying to get municipal broadband.
Yeah,
we call that whatever you want.
I could.
Whenever we go to activism events, when we're at the events, Ron is there. Jimmy's an activist too, which a lot of people that you all watch, including us, we're all activists. If Ron want to be mad at Bernie for not doing it, Ron does a lot of activism. He can be mad at it.
Well, I did fly across the country. I did go to D.C. and plead with the guy. But
that's what I'm saying. But if you
just want to be mad out for Leah,
if you don't want to get the word, it's not me, us, and that's one thing that he said that is. Even Tulsi took that to heart. It's not. I'm not relying on Bernie to get this stuff done. I have to put my hat in the ring because I know where he lacks and I can help cover down. Like That's what I'm saying. When we can't talk about, I want Bernie to do this. Where are you going to start? Are you going to start doing something to make those dreams a reality, or are you going to keep relying on Bernie to get it done? That would be my thing.
Can I say something, though, on the election integrity thing? He should really, I mean, the fact that he always points out, and especially the State of the Union, which was a rebuttal, and it was a great rebuttal when he was saying, it's not a hot economy when blah, 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 blah. It's not a hot economy. But then when he gets to this point, when he starts talking about election integrity, and he brings up Atlanta, and he brings up Florida. And we know damn well what he's talking about. He was talking about the Republican cheating against Stacey Abrams and against Andrew Gillum. And he fails to point out the corruption in the elections on the Democratic side. And we experienced this here in this ADEMS, ladies and gentlemen. 80-51, they're doing a re-election. They found so many Fugazi ballots that they're doing it again.
Same thing in North Carolina. They're doing a re-election in North Carolina, too. So it's possible. We've literally seen it where they can do re-elections. So we have the power to do that, and the people have the power. But guess how the only way these re-elections happen, when the people speak up, and then candidates and people in power also call it like it is. And that's what we're not, other than Tulsi, really. And I know a couple of others who feel the same way, but they haven't really called it out on both sides.
Well, it starts at the ground level. It starts at the local level, and that's where you can get stuff done, as far as election integrity goes. But then,
So are you saying that Tulsi Gabbard is giving us the tools to get stuff done at the local level? Is that, or she's taking
I'm saying
lessons?
she does. I'm saying she doesn't need to. What I'm saying is that eventually it gets to a point where you need somebody with the platform of a Tulsi Gabbard or a Bernie Sanders to magnify it for you.
Exactly.
That's what happens. That's the way it works.
Listening to grassroots organizers.
Oh, she totally is, and I think Bernie is too, and that's good.
But how do you feel? And I'm sure this probably had something to do with your overall choice. I mean, Tulsi's the only one who's talked about it, and then introduce something to do something
she
about
put
it.
Policy behind the word.
You know what I'm saying? Like as much as I love Bernie, the man's the Amendment King. That's great stuff. So in other words, he's also showed us that he's had the ability to take unpopular policies, policies that were unpopular in both parties, amplify these issues, educate people correctly. I mean, that's the point of the Sanders Institute, is to educate correctly and then find policies to introduce. Why was this not discussed by Bernie when she introduced it the first time? And then why is it not being discussed right now, considering that this is I feel like this is beyond presidential campaigns.
Well, and I think this kind of goes into, that's why I feel the way I do, where I say their strengths and weaknesses complement each other very well. That is another, for instance, where there's certain avenues Bernie doesn't go down, where Tulsi has a kind of more go get 'em hungry attitude. She's not afraid to confront it. Similarly, when it comes to kind of mobilizing the grassroots, standing up for the working class, Bernie has a really particular strength there. I think they balance each other out pretty well.
He's an activist, and that is his galvanization is incredible. His ability to galvanize people is incredible, and it's a skill. It's a type of intelligence.
But look what he did for all of us in 2016. Exactly. He basically said, "Hey, progressives, you're not alone. There's more of you than you realize. The media has been lying to you."
Not even that. Look what once again, you're talking to a room full of Tulsi supporters. Look what he did for Tulsi in 2019, 2020. We have his followers, his supporters, going out and blasting for Tulsi to get on the debate stage, because Bernie just has this capability to unite people and unify people and remind them of the bigger goal. And that's something that I feel is, once again, why everybody believes they're unstoppable if they get on a ticket together. If they end up on that ticket, there's nothing Trump can do. And that's a fact. There is absolutely, he will lose his supporters back to Bernie, because a lot of them, there are coalitions in the Trump movement that are switching all their people to Tulsi.
Just imagine the debates.
Oh, the debates.
Trump versus Bernie.
Tulsi versus
Pence. Guess what? There is one politician on the planet Mike Pence could beat in a debate. Tim Kaine. He already had him. He already had that Palin. Nothing burger.
Sarah Palin, maybe.
I don't even think he could beat Sarah Palin.
Yeah, because they're too
guys, I got to get to some super chats before they disappear. I don't want to leave these guys out. Fernando Fernandez said a third party, a progressive party, would unite the corporate Democrats and Republicans. Need them to take over the Democratic Party for a chance for progressive policies. And then Big
Baby Zubas.
Big Baby Zubas just gave us a
Thank you for the single.
Thank you for the single. Thank you for the ace, is what we like to say in this Italian household, Fugazi. Tulsi is pro... what's that?
Pro was. I don't know if they're trying to say war.
Pro-war, just anti-regime change.
That's demonstratively
okay,
untrue.
People don't know the difference. she would continue drone strikes and murder innocent civilians. We've heard this kind of comments from some of the people from the protesters over there. Like when somebody said to me when I was interviewing, Tulsi doesn't like some wars. She does like other wars.
No, she's only been in Congress since 2012, and she's voted against every major regime changes and never voted for a war.
But isn't there that transcript of her when she was like, "Hey, I went to Iraq and it was a great time. I'd do it again tomorrow." Isn't that out there? Oh wait, that doesn't exist.
Yeah,
that's
I'm about
not
to say
real.
I've never.
Yeah. That's
never.
not real.
In fact, the only script I've ever heard is literally, "I'm tired of seeing waking up to a list of names where I have to figure out which one of my brothers and sisters are armed."
That's the one I see too. Yeah, that's the one I see too.
Can I be honest though too? Let's also talk about this too, because I think of all of us, and I'm not just going to start kind of tickling conspiracy theories out there, but I feel like after the convention, the deep state, the intelligence community, somebody got to Bernie. And there are certain situations and certain things he doesn't talk about that are taboo. When it comes to attacking the Democratic Party on their elections, he kind of strays away.
He couldn't do it because of his independent status.
He kind of like, props up.
Yeah.
He completely walked away from people like Tim Canova after that, the convention.
Which was disappointing.
It was disappointing,
Yeah,
but isn't there a thought process that someone got to him? Because the tune had changed. Yeah. And maybe Tulsi might face the same type of because she goes after the intelligence.
But she also has a much younger. She's much younger, like in her career, right? So they can't use a lot of the things that they were able to use against Bernie. Also, they can't attack her identity, and that's mostly how they've been attacking Bernie, is on identity. You can't do that with not one question about reparations, not one question about the black community during her town hall, not one question about the things that Bernie had to deal with. Oh, you're a white man. How do we know you're worth representative of us? You're white. You're old. You're a man. You're white. You're old. You're a man. I would
say they do attack Tulsi on identity, but they do it more subtly. They do it in the sense that, Obama had a bromance with Modi, no problem. Kamala had nice things to say about Modi, no problem. Tulsi meets with Modi because it's part of her job and it makes
progressives
sense. But that's a problem. Why is it a problem? It's a problem because she's Hindu.
Exactly.
That's
and I want to say something too. For people to say, if you're progressive and you're using that quote about Modi, just know you're literally taking a neoliberal smear and likely applying it to Tulsi because it's convenient for whatever candidate that you choose. Yeah. So if you're a Bernie candidate and you're pushing that rhetoric, first of all, just understand how politics work. If anybody's telling you she took money from RSS on this during this election, they're first of all, they're lying because they don't know. She couldn't have possibly. The forms don't release until April 15th.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't know that. One, the only people that we've asked about this, they say, okay, she supports RSS. We're like, okay, well, where's the numbers? Well, they give her hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't have them. Nobody ever has the numbers. Cool. Yeah. So that's
nobody ever does have numbers on this situation, by the way. I would like to see some fucking numbers.
And if you got them,
that Tulsi's been taking this money. Well, where's the evidence? Where's the open secrets? Where's the line? Because I don't see the shot all going directly from Modi.
So there's also the fact that she is Hindu, and the fact that nobody. Once again, going back to Kamala. Is friends, loves Modi. Kamala is actually Indian, has actually supported Modi, and if I recall, actually voted for legislation to strengthen relationships with India while Modi was in power, which Tulsi voted against because she said the United States doesn't need to be attached tangentially or otherwise to India. It needs to be a healthy trade relationship and a healthy diplomatic relationship, but no legislation needs to tie us in with another regime ever. That benefited the religious minorities in India because it means that we would not look the other way, at least on paper.
And they're trying to flip it.
And they're trying to flip that and say it's because Tulsi didn't want, want support for India, which strengthening support with India officially means strengthening support with Modi.
Yeah.
Tulsi voted against that. So like, if you're quoting the lie that Tulsi is somehow butt buddies with Modi. One, do your research because she meets with everybody all the time. She was literally on the Foreign Affairs Committee. That is why they were able to use this. Yeah, that's why they were able to use this against her because they're like, well, we can't get her on literally anything else because the LGBTQ thing was going to pass. It's too vain. It was too easy to disprove. And almost everybody was homophobic like 6 years ago. Like, that's not going to work. So what do we do? Oh, she's on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Let's figure out where she went and let's use it against her forever. She's only being attacked it seems like only because she's Hindu.
Yeah.
Very rarely is it, oh, we care about the religious minorities. Very rarely is it that. It's always because she's a Hindu nationalist. But once again, as Grumpy Birdie pointed out on Twitter, if Bernie Sanders became the president, or if he even sat on the Foreign Affairs Committee, he would have to go meet with Netanyahu at some point to try and broker peace between Palestine and Israel. Would that make Bernie a Jewish nationalist merely for having a picture while he is trying to broker peace between the minorities and the dominant establishment of another country? No, it would not, nor would anyone claim that. But it's being claimed against Tulsi because it's a lie, and it's a convenient one at that.
And Pelosi went to meet with Assad against the will of the president of the United States. That administration did not want the Democrats and the leadership of the Democrats going to speak to Assad. Pelosi went anyways, and there's nothing said about that. We got some super chats. You want to read them up? Because this guy's a fan of both you guys, and I hope Balthazar, go over to the Convo Couch, like and subscribe, and help us out too as well. We love you.
Balthazar, I was pushing HR 3057 from the introduction and have been pushing for ranked choice voting for years. Awesome. I'm going to need a redaction and apologies for Russia bait, Israel, and 2016 rigging before voting D again. I understand. I mean,
you
got
one. You got a retraction. Tulsi, what you mean? She's the one who came out and said, yeah, we told y'all.
Well, you know what? It's one of those things. This two-party duopoly, it's not working. And I know that we don't have a quick fix, but, you know, I'll quote the punk poet Attila the Stockbroker. He's a guy out in England, and he wrote a song about how the labor, you know, when everybody supported Iraq over in England, and he's like, you know, we need an electoral system that gives every voter a voice because we're fed up with voting for wankers and we have a right to a choice.
Absolutely.
And he's absolutely right about that.
Balthazar's got one right there.
Balthazar, donation tracking is super easy. Just ask Ron about all the free services he hasn't checked out. Balthazar loves Streamlabs, and I still haven't looked into Streamlabs.
We were just talking about that.
We were just talking about it. I got to do it. I know, but yeah. I haven't done it yet.
Oh, my God. And scripts to clips for series and flicks. Another $5 super chat. Thank you so much. He said, do y'all see the Anna's hashtag no filters second smear against Tulsi? I did it, and I don't care because you know what? She didn't even have the guts to get on, you know, to sit down and have that debate with Tulsi.
And by the way, she's now claiming that Tulsi's camp actually told her that she wasn't going to be part of the interview, which... By the way, I don't believe because I asked Tulsi's sister, where was she? I was like, where is she? Where was Anna? She said behind the camera. I was like, why is that? So I can say officially, Tulsi's sister didn't tell her to do that, who was the only other person that would have that type of power, and the actual scheduler didn't say that either. So unless somebody overshot Tulsi and V, which is unlikely, and unless they have some proof, I wouldn't believe that V's Tulsi's sister.
Oh, the campaign.
Kind of like a de facto campaign manager. So unless somebody overshot them and didn't tell Tulsi and V, that's untrue. And she said that she was told that by somebody else on TYT. How true is that? I don't even know. Maybe somebody on TYT didn't want any controversy because I don't understand because they asked all of Anna's questions. So you know what I'm saying? Like, so for her to sit down,
I didn't see any of the stuff in question.
Don't
so
waste
I don't
your time.
have.
It's just gonna make you upset.
But
it's gonna make you sick because what they do is like they treated her like a mainstream media, a CNN, an MSNBC TV show. Oh, you got these guys endorsing you, you know, O'Bannon endorses.
Yeah.
Like, Shank, why are you even mentioning that shit? This is not fucking CNN.
Yeah. In my opinion, that was a waste of 5 minutes of a question. Why do I have to explain? Bannon's an idiot and I don't support him. You should have realized this by now. I don't see what the discussion's about. But also, if I was Tulsi, I think she's more than free to say, Anna, this would only boost your profile. You being on this interview has nothing to do with me, and since you want to be petty, I'll be petty too, and that's perfectly fine. And so I wouldn't even have a problem with it. But I will say this: if Anna was a journalist, I wouldn't let anybody tell me I wasn't gonna be part of the interview. Period. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like off the rip. And if Jank made that decision, TYT made that decision, then you have a problem with your network rather than with Tulsi. Because nobody on this network, if they said Palsta had to sit out, or Ron had to sit out for a very important interview just because they disagreed with you, they wouldn't be doing an interview anymore. Yeah, and that would have been the story. Yeah. And that says more about a candidate. But when you're talking about somebody who sat in front of me and answered questions about being on a center or Council for Foreign Affairs, or not Council for Foreign Affairs, right? Is it Council? CFR. No,
CFR.
Council of Foreign Relations, my apologies. Sits in front of me, goes talks about Israel, condemns Netanyahu, talks about Wahhabism, condemns the Saudi Arabia regime, and you're going to sit here and tell me she was scared of Anna Kasparian?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Come on.
I like the fact that we didn't get a chance to ask her the question, and Jimmy got to ask her on torture because we were talking about it, and she's like, dead set against it. Done.
She addressed it.
Gone.
Yeah,
she addressed it because that was a 2014 clip we had talked about when she was out there, and I think she was saying that at the time to kind of signal to like a certain independent base that she'll do what she needs to do to keep us safe. We have another super chat. Ron, can you answer this question? It's from Chemical Shed, and don't softball it. Placone, and an explanation. Please push JD to take a second look at Yang and have him on again.
Oh, he must have missed that conversation.
You must have missed the first part of the show,
You're
Chemical
barking up
Sand.
the wrong tree, dog.
I appreciate your opinion and your enthusiasm. I'm not a fan of Andrew Yang at all. If Andrew Yang is a progressive, Pat Boone is a heavy metal artist.
Wow.
And if you're convinced by him, I'd encourage you to take a second look. If Jimmy wants to have him on again, that's fine. It's Jimmy's show. The first interview was about 40-some minutes, and Yang came clean about the fact that he's against the minimum wage, that he is in bed with big tech, which makes you think he'll probably be in bed with the military-industrial complex and big pharma in the donor class, should he ever be president, which hopefully he's not.
And he would let the CIA run all over his face.
Of course he would. I'm not convinced by Andrew Yang, Chemical Shed. Sorry. And if Jimmy wants to have him on again, that's great, because I'm all about a discussion.
Well, let's not get confused. We are all for Andrew Yang being on the debate stage.
Oh, I'm fine with him being on the debate stage.
So let's not get that confused, people.
Yeah, for one debate.
He's better than, he's better than most establishment candidates. Pretty much all. I think he's worse than Warren even, but outside of that.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm not even to step up.
Has he sworn off corporate donations?
Has he?
Huh?
Has Yang sworn off corporate donations?
I'm not sure. No, I don't know that one way or another.
Let's this question, and I'm sorry for stepping on your sentence over there, but I just saw this. It says, I just don't understand why vote for Tulsi over Bernie. Bernie has the best domestic policy, and Tulsi has foreign.
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
But wait, since we live in the U.S., which policies will benefit us? Which policies will benefit us, foreign or domestic? Well, I mean, we talk about this all the time. The foreign policies dictate a lot of the domestic policies, especially when it comes to immigration.
Not a lot of,
especially when it comes to how we spend our money. Where's our tax dollars going? It's going to foreign policy. It's going to feed the military-industrial complex. So you can't just ignore one without paying attention to the others. I mean, it's just one of those things. That was a super chat contribution.
Can I address that, please?
I appreciate the Ron response. Ron, go ahead and answer that question.
Thank you very much, Chemical Shed. I appreciate that very much. And again, I respect your opinion, even though it sounds like I disagree with it.
Answer that question about foreign and domestic policies.
So that's not true. Like, let's be completely straight up. Now, if you want to say Bernie has more experience in domestic policy, then I would say, okay, that's perfectly true.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a fact.
Yeah, it's literally an objective
time.
Yeah, an objective fact. But anybody who's ever been in the military can tell you, or anybody who's ever been in a job for a long time can tell you, all experience isn't a good experience, and it doesn't mean that you're better than someone else in something, no matter what you're in. Some experience, you can make an argument for experience, but then I will make an argument to say, just like I did earlier, or like Craig did, one, foreign policy dictates domestic policy. So if Bernie doesn't want to address the military-industrial complex substantively, like Tulsi does, addressing the complete and clear lies that the military intelligence agencies have been spewing, without accountability at that, ending lives overseas and spending money here at home to do so, then our domestic policies is always going to be an excuse for us to not have the money here, but always have the money spent abroad. 2, election justice. Bernie has not touted, he hasn't celebrated nor co-signed nor introduced any legislation in the Senate addressing election justice, nor will he address it substantively in his rhetoric for any party other than the kind of election justice or injustice that happens to the Democratic Party. Tulsi addresses election justice on both sides of the fence and calls it what it is. Once paper ballots gone, acknowledges when people were cheated regardless of what party it is. That as well. Tulsi is more than willing to call out anybody on any side of the fence. When you're talking about getting domestic issues passed, who is going to be willing to call out the Democrats when they vote against their pharma legislation?
Yeah.
Bernie did not do that. Bernie let it ride out. He said,
and he pushed the Russian narrative,
and
too,
then he pushed the Russian narrative, which was a problem domestically. It caused domestic problems for us. People who shouldn't have jobs anymore still have jobs and don't have accountability. These are all things that we have to consider. When you can't just, quote a line that you've read on social media somewhere about Bernie being better on domestic policy and that automatically makes it true. There's nuanced discussion to be had. If you want to say you feel he's better on domestic policy, okay,
he's been doing it for a lot longer.
And he's been doing it for longer.
He's been there for a long time.
But I would say then at the argument that I would say is who was better when, for LeBron James when he came into the league and Smush Parker on the back end of his career. Was Smush Parker better than LeBron James because Smush Parker was in the NBA longer? No, it was LeBron James. Some people just have it, and other people, you might have been there, but that doesn't mean you're as good. It seems like Tulsi has a better understanding of how things work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The background of how things work. And then understanding that we have to address that before we ever get to the things that Bernie are discussing.
Well, let me offer a strategic argument to kind of just this whole thing. I think that it's only so fruitful to kind of like debate Bernie v. Tulsi because the way I see it, if they're not a unified ticket, which is, I think, the strongest foot forward progressives can hope for,
100%.
Neither progressive is getting out of a primary, and we're going to have to deal with another corporatist who's going to then go lose to Donald Trump.
100%.
That's what I think is going to happen if we don't have a unified ticket between those two.
Yeah.
So the issue isn't... So basically what you're saying, which I agree with, is I endorse Tulsi because I know she needs the help. She needs the numbers.
And that's fine. That's
but
totally
what you're
cool.
saying is something I agree with. Most people shouldn't be pushing Bernie ahead of Tulsi, Tulsi ahead of Bernie, Tulsi, Bernie. It should be Bernie and Tulsi, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you vote your conscience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I think it's hard to debate how they are not by far the best two options.
Yeah.
By far, like no one else is even close. Neither one of them is perfect. I'm not expecting perfection from either one. That's not possible. But they are by far the best two. And if we don't see a unified ticket, I don't see us getting out of a primary. I mean, the establishment's going to try to cheat any way that they can. They're going to try so hard to cheat. So if we're not so big and loud that they can't cheat us, we're screwed again. And
when
we're going to be stuck with another
camps
corporatist
together that are in danger of being cheated. And I can tell you, just as an aside, they are both aware that there's going to be efforts to be cheated, and they're both working together to make sure that it doesn't happen, and that when it does happen, we have two camps now that are connected with each other to challenge the establishment the moment that we see cheating, to prepare before every election, to make sure that we're all registered to vote, to make sure that the activists have boots on the ground, even to go from door to door and say, hey, if you don't like Bernie, Tulsi is an option too, and vice versa. You have people who are doing. We had a super volunteer who was literally at Bernie's event the week before, and she was at Tulsi's event the very next week, pushing both of them, pushing people to each other's rallies. And people were just as excited about Bernie's rally as they were about Tulsi's rally, and vice versa. That's what we need to go forward. I agree 100%.
This would be really great because I asked her that when I interviewed that young lady. Her name is Sarah. I said, last question, Tulsi Gabbard, enemy or ally? And she said specifically, strongly, it's an ally. She's an ally, and this is something to look at, is that Tulsi is going to pull people that Bernie could have normally not pulled. And she's going to get them into her camp.
Yeah.
So down the road, if it comes to a time where Tulsi has to step aside because it looks like Bernie has the nomination, she's going to bring that whole camp with her when she endorses Bernie, and it's going to be twice as strong as it was before because people will stand behind Tulsi that normally wouldn't have stood behind Bernie, and especially if they unite that ticket and make her the vice president.
We have another super chat.
We have several super chats.
Oh, damn.
Go ahead. You want us to read through them?
The last one I saw was the one about the sheiks.
The next one is if Anna keeping it.
Balthazar. I think Ron has to read Balthazar right there. No?
Nope.
You're not reading Balthazar?
Thank you, Chemical.
He's not reading Balthazar?
Hold up.
Write this one.
Nico. Sikhs were protesting against her at the LA rally and handing out flyers regarding taking money from Hindu nationalists and RSS. How would you respond to them, and how should I defend her next time?
Well,
Let's go to our Twitter.
Yeah,
go to our Twitter.
Go to Twitter. But
we put it up there.
we got video footage. Craig specifically. Craig interviewed him after he saw us talking, and I asked him the same question. We said, well, where's this money at? Because bro, you keep saying Tulsi has all this money in her campaign. It is counter. I don't understand. Either she's raising all the money in the world, or she isn't. But saying that she's raising hundreds of thousands of dollars from the group, you better be able to back that claim up. Yeah. I asked him, Craig got him on camera saying he has no idea. He has the information,
just not with him.
But it's not with him.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what the exact number is or who the names are who donated to him. So he was staging this entire protest. And it turns out, by the way, that particular human being, the Pietro, whatever.
Pieter.
Yeah. He's Hindu-phobic as hell. His entire career is based off of smearing Hindus in the same way people have established careers based off of smearing all Jewish people. Like, that's the kind of guy this dude is.
This guy was trying to get Gandhi statues taken down. He was going around doing that.
Yeah, because Gandhi was, Gandhi does have a racial problem and somewhat of a racist past, but like, that's pretty much every leader around the world, unfortunately. And we try to celebrate the good and kind of learn from the bad. But like, I wish it was just the Gandhi stuff. But it isn't even that. He's written entire books about this stuff. His whole Twitter is Hindu phobic. He doesn't like Hindu people because they're a majority, and then some Hindu people have done bad things. But some Christian people have done bad things as well, just like some Muslims have done bad things. We don't ever paint a religion by the convictions of the minority. We judge them by the good of the majority. And I would say the majority of religious people in this world do good, and the majority of Hindu people promote peace.
And he's getting funded by somebody big over there, because to him to show up to the second event, it's like, how did you know about this? Somebody is definitely leaking you information from. And
he got the question
that knows shit.
He got the first question, which is
another first question.
And then they tried to say that Jimmy was the one who told him to answer that
Jimmy
question,
was pointing to the other fucking
and
guy.
Jimmy was pointing to the other guy.
I wasn't there.
I know, but it was just crazy because I was like, the dude immediately said, "Oh, Jimmy Dore told me," and that's what the official story has become. Is Jimmy said, "I'm like, Jimmy didn't fucking point that guy out." I know, that's a different discussion, but my point is, there's a smear attempt being made against Tulsi, and it is Hindu phobic. I agree 100% with her. Because we've seen this with Ilan. When the defense or the critique of her is completely based off of her religion, they need to start figuring out what we're really talking about.
We got an awesome super chat.
Go ahead.
All right, so I'll do two more, and then the rest of the super chats are you guys. I heard rumors of a Jesse Ventura for Green Party 2020. I don't think there's any validity to that rumor. I could be wrong.
He backed it up. He said the Green Party's been contacting me, asking me to run.
Yeah, been for a while, for like a year and a half.
Well, no. But the rumor is he considering it? They can contact him. Is he?
Well, he said he was considering. And he was like, "I'm considering it." The Green Party.
Isn't his Facebook, Twitter, or isn't his Facebook now Jesse Ventura 2020?
I know he's been contacted, but is he considering it?
I think he's considering it. I just don't know if he's going to pull the trigger.
All right.
So.
Could he generate enough hype to debate? Love to see that, or waste of time?
The debate would be awesome.
I think he could.
It would be great if he was debating.
On the debate stage.
I'm with you. I don't know if it's something he seriously. I could be totally wrong. I mean, I'm just basing this off of. I don't know if it's something he's seriously considering.
What about this?
I mean, people they'll take sound bites where they're like, "He's thinking about it," and it's just like, "Oh yeah, maybe I would."
He did. The thing was, is if you see the sound bite when he was at the airport, he was picking up luggage. He had the Jesse Ventura hair, like he just got off a plane.
And he said, "I'm thinking about."
He goes, "Are you considering run?" Yeah, I'm considering strongly about a run. The Green Party's contacted me, and then he went right after Trump about going and beating up Trump left and right. So that was months ago. He hasn't made a move since. But yes, I think it was a serious consideration.
You know what's interesting? He's quieted down since Tulsi has announced.
Yeah.
That seems to be the game changer for him.
I think so.
Well, I certainly don't think it would be a waste of time for him at all. And
Tulsi's got to be his candidate.
I certainly want,
I could see Jesse. I would go work for
debate
Jesse
stage.
If Tulsi and Bernie didn't make it. I would go vote for Jesse.
Well, and I certainly hope. I mean, I'm really hoping that I have a progressive option. Bernie or
I think
Tulsi.
we will. I think the theory is that we will. I think that's why it's been so overwhelming.
I certainly hope we do, but in the case that we don't, which I sincerely hope we do, and I'm not even thinking about that yet. But in the case that we don't, I certainly hope there's a green for me to vote for.
Yeah,
because I'm not going to vote for some corporatist.
Yeah, I'm not happy.
All right, we got to do these. We got to get out of here.
All right, so we got to get out of
here. There we go.
Ron, wait a minute. Pat Boone isn't heavy metal. Of course he's not. And again, if Andrew Yang is a progressive, Pat Boone is a heavy metal artist.
That's his point.
You can quote me on that one.
I think that is the last super chat and stuff, but we do have to get out of here. We're a 70-minute show. There are 262 people watching, though.
Shout out to you guys.
And
go vote. Go donate to Tulsi.
Yeah, donate to
Tulsi2020.com.
Go over, like, subscribe, share, and help us out on the Convo Couch. We've been moving up, and all of a sudden we got Get Your News One with Ron. You can go over there and like, subscribe, and share.
And also, real quick, where can people? I mean, not that I'm sure most of the people know where to find you at, but they know. If you don't know, Ron has his own YouTube page as well. What's your YouTube?
Yeah, youtube.com/Ron Placone. And I'm out on the road. Graham Elwood and I are touring with the Progressive Comedy Tour. We're going to be in Texas. We're going to be in Salt Lake City, Boise. We're going to be on the East Coast. RonPlacone.com for all those tickets. And youtube.com/Ron Placone.
His last tour was dope.
Florida was a good time.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun out there in Miami. I was part of it. The crowd's energy was crazy. Ron and Matt really, they are not
Graham.
Not Matt. I have a really good friend in high school named Matt Graham. He's a really cool dude. He was funny as hell too. That's why I was confused him. But Ron and Graham the crowd loved them, and they really cater to the crowd, and they give you your 100% energy. And they're tired when they get up there. Y'all know about the road story. They're tired when they get up there, and they give you 100%. So go to ronplacone.com to book your tickets.
Yep, ronplacone.com. All tickets available.
Go.
Thanks, buddy.
Oh,
DC, I'll see you in Houston. I'm excited for it.
I
think you missed a couple.
Which one
did I miss?
You
missed a couple, man.
Follow-up question.
I just did the ones that were for me. I didn't.
Why are the Sikhs so against her? Do they have their own stories wrong? Sikhs are normally very peaceful.
No, it's propaganda. I mean, so the Sheiks, for those of you who don't know, a lot of Sheiks live in Punjab. There was a war between the Sheiks and the Hindus, and the Punjabis and the Hindus, and so that's where a lot of that animus comes from. So when somebody ascribes to any particular belief, and of course there's a collectivity in that groupthink, you have to be able to read in between the lines and the nuance to understand how they're attaching Hinduism to her beliefs rather than analyzing Tulsi as a person. That would be just as wrong as us trying to say that all Christians are bad because Trump is a Christian and therefore Christians are the same, or that even Trump will do something good for Christians because now we know he'll do something for the crazy evangelicals, the crazy Baptists, the extremists, but he's not going to do anything for the actual Jesus Christians, So we don't want to conflate the two, but that's the problem, is that everybody who aligns to one particular belief has all been subjected to propaganda of some kind. But the facts speak for themselves when it comes to Tulsi. When she had a chance to strengthen the relations between Modi and the United States, she voted against it, and that's a vote in favor of the religious minority and not Hindus.
Yeah.
So.
And I think a lot of her Hindu has to do with, she's a peace-loving yogi girl in Hawaii. It's different than when you're living in India, the ramifications of being Hindu and Muslim and the relationships between each other. This is a peace-loving girl who wanted to practice yoga and kind of tied in the...
and she's also on the Foreign Affairs Committee. There was literally nothing. I mean, she could have avoided meeting with Modi, but that would be the stupidest thing ever for you to avoid meeting with Modi because you're a Hindu. That would be just as ridiculous.
This person said, I'm a huge supporter of universal health care, but nobody has discussed serious issues some of us may have. Example, mandatory vaccinations.
Oh, we're not getting into that.
I don't share that view.
That was the last one, right? I think I got them all then, John. That's it. Now on the next show, tune in.
I don't mind discussing mandatory vaccinations. I don't mind having a nuanced discussion, but we can't get into it now. It'll be way too long, and we're just talking about focusing on the candidates right now. I think the bigger discussion about vaccinations is the FDA is an issue rather than addressing it as a vaccination issue.
And then thanks for answering my question regarding domestic and foreign policies without making me feel stupid. Much research I need to do. And thank you. That was the gentleman.
Aww. Thank you very much.
I'm
telling you, the people on this channel are dope. They're just so they're all about talking.
Wait, one more. Oh shit, we got another one in here. What says? Okay, Nico, do you think Tulsi will be on the Breakfast Club? They seem to be pushing Kamala hard, but I think if Tulsi came on,
we're working on it.
She would be well liked.
We're working on it. Oh yeah. Oh man, she'd take the black vote instantly. Just like I think that was with Bernie. So it happened with Bernie after he went on the Breakfast Club. I imagine that we'll probably see something similar with Tulsi, especially because she's the only one who's endorsed reparations so far.
Well, get us out of it because Ron's got to go to class.
All right, sounds good. Thank you all so much for tuning into this segment of Mikasa, Sukasa, and the Convo Couch with a special edition of Getting Your News On with Ron. So that's pretty much what we damn did. We just ended up getting your news on Ron, reading super chats all day.
We did your show, man. We live in your chamber.
We just were like, yeah.
That's probably where the super chats came from because they're so used to doing it with you. So with that being said, people, thank you all so much. Go donate to Tulsi2020.com. And remember, more than anything else, people, find your balance. Peace.